This is the second series in our Petroleum Industry Governance Bill advocacy, and we'll be looking at the powers of the president and the powers of the minister and what the PIGB has to say on those. And we have an oil and gas lawyer, Mr. Chiagozie. The major grounds of the president's refusal to sign the PIGB was that he whittles down the powers of the minister. According to him, he had consulted with other ministers in other ministries and other top civil servants, and the bill was quite ancient or quite south to what the operation should be. Can you give us some detail on these powers that he says were whittled?
Well, first of all, to be frank, I'm not exactly sure that that's what the president's grouse is. Okay.
There are other grounds.
Yeah. It's certainly not a stated grouse, as far as I've found out, that the president believes that the bill whittles down the minister's powers too much. Okay. But the truth of the matter is that, yes, it does do that. It removes the minister's powers in many areas. First of all, okay, it removes the regulatory role from the minister. You have to realize that under the Petroleum Act as it stands today, the minister has 3 roles, okay? He has a policy role, he has a regulatory role, he has a commercial role. What the design of the PIGB does is that it leaves the minister with a policy role, it transfers the regulatory role to a commission, okay, which is going to have people with a background in oil and gas, who serve for a confirmed tenure, okay, to exercise those powers. It's not only in Nigeria that this has happened. In fact, we're actually late to the party. Many other jurisdictions, even newer oil and gas jurisdictions, have passed similar laws. And invariably, when they've done this, they've seen an upsurge in confidence and in investment in those jurisdictions. Okay, so I mean, you could say that the main power that is taken away from the minister is the notorious power of being able to award licenses and leases. Okay. That's a prime regulatory function. It's now going to be done by the commission. Okay. So really, to summarize on your question, whilst, as far as I know, I can't say categorically that the reason the president has refused to sign the bill is because he whittles down the minister's powers. Okay. The bill does whittle down the minister's powers. Right?
Yes. Okay. But so just to put that out, the president also had issues with the fact that it would reduce the revenue accrued to the federation account as well, right? The commission would require some of the revenue for its operating expenses. Yeah. That's another issue that he had. Now, what is basically, what is your take on how the powers of the president or the powers of the minister, according to the Petroleum Act that we use, has had on the industry? Has it taken us back? Has it reduced the benefits of that we could have taken or could have enjoyed from the industry as a country?
I think look, it's possible to do an empirical study to prove this, but I can tell you definitely, in my experience, anecdotally, I would say that having an individual vested with so many powers and having so much discretion, arguably is not the best, right? It doesn't, allow for the transparency that is a necessary feature of, modern systems, that improves efficiency. Okay, so I would say that without a doubt, in my opinion, that yes, having a minister with so much discretion has been a bad thing for the oil and gas sector. I don't want to go into details, to now point out instances. I don't think that would be fair. But I think that those who, you can look back on the history of the oil and gas industry in Nigeria over the past 50 years or so, when the Petroleum Act has been in force, and you can readily point to what you might regard as missed opportunities because of the design of our enabling legislation.
Okay, so but we want.
Let me just say something.
Yes.
You mentioned something about the revenue. The president being leery about the impact that the PIGB has drafted would have on federation revenue.
Yes.
Okay. Now, my view is that that's a valid point.
Okay.
Okay. Look, in this day and age, you have to bear in mind that government finances are seriously constrained. But you have to strike a balance, between making sure you fund government entities properly, particularly entities that are involved in a sector that it generates so much money, right? As the oil and gas sector does, right? You need to fund them properly, but at the same time, you need to make sure that it's not as if there's a slush fund available there for these people. If you don't fund it properly, then you
open them up to corruption.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you open them up to what technically could be called a regulatory capture, where the people they're regulating now are the ones funding what they're doing. So you can imagine, there's the saying, he who pays the piper dictates the tune. So you want to avoid that. You want to make sure they are properly funded. What's been proposed actually in the PIGB is not new. It's been done already for a number of other agencies like FIRS and, even at the moment, I think DPR has a similar thing that's not legislated, but, provides for how much of the revenue they generate that they can actually keep.
But you feel 10% is a lot.
10% is humongous.
Yes.
Without a doubt. And what I understand is actually that the Senate has brought that down. There was, a sort of redraft of that, which the Senate has passed. And hopefully that should address Mr. President's concerns.
Okay. Now, some of these, because we want our audience to be able to capture some of these details, because we need to spark some level of interest and some level of concern with the audience. So some of the powers that the president had to give consent to, the right to form or create new subsidiaries, which is vested in the board, the NNPC board, but would need the president's consent to get approved. And we've seen some companies, or we've heard of companies that have continually run without declaring profit, without declaring revenue, without declaring any form of financial flow. And the PIGB now kind of vests these powers in companies that will be regulated by the Company and Allied Matters Act, which is the act that governs how companies are run in Nigeria. I'd just like you to speak to this, and because the country would have lost a lot of revenue from trading entities like Duke Oil, for example, and non-functioning blocks run by NPDC, for example. So.
Well, my perspective is a little bit different on this particular issue. Okay. You see, look, subsidiaries or no subsidiaries, who has the authority to set them up? Okay. Look, at the moment, NNPC is a statutory corporation. Okay. Under the in the bill, when it's enacted, if the process is followed, you're going to now have entities which are regulated by the Companies and Allied Matters Act. Okay. if NNPC wants to set up a subsidiary today, just like they did before, I mean, the board would have to approve the setting up of those subsidiaries. Okay, obviously with the approval of the minister and Mr. President, because these would be matters of national significance. If you go to the new system, it will still be the board, right? But it would, I mean, setting up subsidiaries, even under the new law, would have to be, strictly speaking, in line with government policy. Okay, so I don't really see that you're going to have
anything different.
Not that there will be, you see, look, what you're going to have here is that you're going to see a much more transparent process.
Exactly.
So
so that's.
But it doesn't mean that you still wouldn't have to have the collaboration of policy, regulator, and commercial. You understand?
Yes.
And then you speak to the thing about MPDC, you know, having non-performing. Many companies, it's not just MPDC.
Yes.
Have blocks in which they've done very little.
Yes.
You know.
And lots of them are indigenous companies, by the way. But here's the point. It's the financial flow. Can I go now and say, as a Nigerian, as a shareholder in the oil and gas industry, I want to look into the books of Carlson or Duke, or I want to.
Okay, let's.
That's actually the.
Let's look at it this way.
For NPDC, I mean, NNPC publishes some kind of corporate report with their monthly financial and operational reports. For example, so as a journalist, I can look into that and distill something and do an FOI or something. But with a company that has an almost non-existent financial flow, I mean, it becomes a different issue, doesn't it?
Well, look at it this way. Carlson is a limited liability company, just like Hyson. They're already under CAMA, and from what you're saying, they don't appear to be filing any audited accounts. Do you understand? So, I mean, it's a matter of mindset and attitude. NNPC itself, how recently have you seen the audited accounts actually publicly available? Okay? So the thing is, having the law doesn't mean that people are complying with it. There are thousands of private companies that don't file their annual returns, don't file their audited accounts as they are supposed to do by law. Okay? So here, I'm not trying to kind of give the government a soft landing or whatever. They have to have a different attitude, you know, they have to actually try to comply. Now, the thing is, if you are applying the normal laws, you know, CAMA would require that, you know, there's some sort of fines or whatever, right, that are imposed, you know, for you not following the requirements of the law, right? And hopefully, if these companies are operating like regular companies, they will do the things that regular companies do.
Because there's the provision for divestment of shares to the public, and there's also the...
Yes, down the line, that's correct. But you see, even listed companies, some of them don't comply with the rules. Okay, so that's why it's important, because this thing is all connected. It's not just setting up a company under CAMA. You have to have the right kind of management, the right kind of board, and that's what the PIGB tries to do. Okay, if you're picking people who have the qualifications, when they get in there, right, they will follow the law. They will do the right things. They won't be subject to the whims and caprices of some government appointee, okay, who has humongous discretion to hire and fire them. All that is being set right by the PIGB. That's why, really, Mr. President should... look, you're never going to have a perfect law. Okay? You're never going to have a perfect law. So this PIGB is good enough to pass. It will revolutionize the oil and gas industry. It will bring us up to date to where many other jurisdictions have already been for years and are beginning to enjoy the benefits. Okay? And really, Mr. President should see this as acting in the higher national interest, rather than having all these... At the moment, he's the Minister of Petroleum. Rather than having all these discretions vested in him, okay, And, you know, essentially he becomes the font of patronage. Okay? He should distance himself from those things, you know. Let go, let NNPC or whatever comes out of NNPC run as proper oil companies. Look, the board or management of Shell is accountable to its shareholders. Is NNPC really accountable to the Nigerian populace? Or even to, I mean, they're just accountable to one or two people. That's just wrong in the 21st century. You understand me? You're never going to get stellar results with that. You're never going to get it.
Okay, yes. To round up, because you really like expressed like what many people feel. But to round up, let's just like look at what I would want to say is the cost implication of having this law as it is. We have licensing issues. We have, like, for example, licensing requires oil mining leases should be for 20 years, and licensing requires that all prospecting licensing should be for 5 years. But if we go to the DPR report, you can see, we'll see oil mining leases for 30 years. And oil prospecting licenses for 10 years.
Well, I don't know that there should be any of that still happening going forward. I don't think, you see.
So that's what I'm saying. That's one of the things that I feel will get resolved.
Yes, certainly. And let me be, I mean, look, DPR over the past few years has improved tremendously. It's better resourced, right? There are a lot of terrific people in DPR. They know the industry, okay? They need our support rather than our excoriation, okay? So the thing is, it's important to look back so that we can see the things that didn't go so well that we want to correct. But I think the focus should be on the present and the future. And I think that, to accelerate the process of improvement, that's why this bill is so necessary, okay? I don't think that Mr. President should allow us to remain in the past when really he has the opportunity to bring a reforming zeal to change, to put a stamp on what this industry will be in the future. He shouldn't miss this opportunity, frankly.
He should take the industry to the next level.
He should take the bull by the horns and actually direct the industry along the path that it should go now. And that will be an enduring legacy for him. No one can take it away from him. But if we have the same, where, okay, he's a man of integrity, right? We thank God for that. But we don't know who's going to come next. If you have a system that allows, a man that doesn't have integrity to mess up, right? We don't know how often we're going to have people of integrity, right? So maybe now he's using his discretion and he's a man of integrity, there's no problems. But tomorrow, somebody who has no integrity could come and use the same system to do terrible damage. And then, if he's still around, you'll be biting his finger and thinking, oh my goodness, why did I not, change the system so that, it checks this sort of abuse?
Why did I not use my integrity to influence?
Absolutely, absolutely. So our faith should not be dependent on personal integrity, but it should be dependent on a well-designed system, right? If you design your system well, right, you will find that it will not give people too much opportunity or not any opportunity at all for messing up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nwokonko.
Thank you.